Yeah,
Okay.
go on.
So, Cleanweb, you can look up the hashtag, look up the website. There's activity in about 20 countries, about 40 cities around the world. So Cleanweb itself, compared to the precursor movement of clean tech, is capital light. It's quick to market and quick to scale. You might think of applications like Waze, the Israeli startup of Googlebot. You might think of applications like Airbnb or Lyft and Uber as examples of Cleanweb that are all about using mobile, social, web technologies to create solutions for consumers that provide an intrinsic value to the user, but also, in some across a city like Moscow, lead to greater efficiencies in transportation and getting people across the city more efficiently. I came into this world by way of my own startup. I was an entrepreneur in several different things, but also in 2008 had received the first funding from FB Fund, Facebook's grant fund, and was working on things to raise energy awareness with consumers, getting them aware of the types of energy consumption in their own homes, and connecting them with the offers from their utility, incentives, and comparing that with friends. This was in late 2010. The problem I ran into was that investors didn't know about how social mobile web technology might address the issues related to resource efficiencies or energy efficiency and the promises of clean tech. There were two different worlds. Sunil Paul is a former venture capitalist in San Francisco. He's also the CEO of a company called Sidecar that does ride sharing, much like Lyft and Uber, in a dozen or more cities around North America. He likes to say that the application of these IT technologies have the opportunity to disrupt diverse sectors, such as hotels, buildings, transportation. It goes on to waste and water and these kinds of things. We like to point to Uber as the model company, because there's no real technology in the form of hardware. It's just an application that connects people to get around town more quickly. And this company was recently valued at $18 billion, as you guys may have heard. So that tends to inspire entrepreneurs. We're talking about massive problems facing our cities around the world and the planet in total. These are also opportunities to create the next billion-dollar company. And it could happen here in Moscow, as easy as it could in Houston or Tel Aviv. Some model examples we've already talked about a bit are the likes of Airbnb, Nest, Waze, and then of course Sidecar, TBD. But these are all big numbers, and these are trends. Things are moving in this direction. We're working on a thing called the Smart Up Manifesto with a team from around the world that was in Helsinki the last weekend. And this idea is identifying the opportunities at the intersection of these trends. Clean web, clean tech, smart cities, Internet of Things, sustainability, and the sharing economy. And we'll be putting out some information on that in the next few weeks. Again, giving the pitch I gave in Helsinki, so sorry about this. But Sunil likes to say the greenest hotel is the one you never have to build. The building industry likes to talk about LEED certification and greener hotels, but Airbnb just so happened to have released a report in the last 2 weeks that summarizes all the environmental impact from people staying in places like yours instead of hotels. And they have big impacts across all the major categories in water, waste, energy, etc. So to coordinate the efforts of growing the Cleanweb to spreading awareness and education around the world, we formed the Cleanweb Initiative with Facebook and a few other U.S. entities last year, and we continue that work today. That's why we're here in Russia. One of the founding board members of the Cleanweb Initiative is a guy named Bill Weil. Bill was formerly energy czar of Google, and now he's a sustainability guru at Facebook. And he has a similar belief in the opportunity to use these technologies to affect massive change. Some of these things Facebook are doing it within the walls of their own company, in their buildings and their data centers, but this is about also using the social platform to create massive behavioral change in citizens, like all of us here. We all start doing ride sharing and sharing our apartments and homes. We can collectively have a massive impact on resource issues. The thing was really about addressing the major issues I told you: water, waste, mobility, and energy. You go to any city in the world, they all have these problems. They're slightly different in Moscow than they are Dallas, Texas, or Lagos, Nigeria, but they all face these problems. And many of the solutions you create for the first world can be adapted to the developing world. So today the movement spans 20 countries. These are examples of some of the partners. We'll be doing a hackathon in Amsterdam with Rockstar, for example, in November, in parallel to the Utility Week conference, which is about 8,000 professionals in the energy world from around Europe and other places. So we're doing a hackathon that will be for all the startup type folks that don't usually pay a $1,000, $2,000 to go to conferences. We're going to make the issues that the utility industry faces understandable, make the startup community aware of these challenges. They might create solutions that those utilities could buy from you as pilots. They can work with cities, etc. Startup weekend, we're doing an apps challenge in North Texas region, which is about 7 million people in the U.S. It's about a $100,000 project, $80,000 in prizes. We did the same thing in New York with a so-called NYC Big Apps, which is about $250,000 in prizes. And these were all intended to get people dialoguing about problems facing cities, working to build solutions, and then creating companies around those ideas. And we continue to grow this. So I also like to say it's a community. We're working at Valentine here to look at ways that we can start this movement in Moscow. And we've been spending our last few days at the U.S. Embassy in Stokovo, today at Moscow State University in the Science Park, and looking for all the different types of partners that might like to see this ecosystem develop in Moscow. A community to reduce emissions in places like Beijing, to reduce water dependency. Across the U.S. there's like major droughts everywhere, and water efficiency is a major way to kind of lessen the impact of waste. In New York City, for instance, we worked on particularly on food waste, because of the 36,000 restaurants in Manhattan, they generate about 60 rail cars per day of food waste. That's food that goes in the trash, and it costs $400 million a year to dispose of, and it generates a lot of methane gas in the dumps. So through social mobile technology, you might take something like Foursquare data and weather data and maybe create solutions that predict the traffic a restaurant might get. So they make less food that they don't have to throw out. And an entrepreneurial company could create a solution they could sell to that restaurant, or take a percentage of those savings. And the city would also be very happy about solutions. And also to address things like climate resilience. We've seen massive storms around the world, in the Philippines, New York, countless other places that make us think about how we might make our cities more resilient to climate change. And the ultimate goal is this more livable and sustainable city, more planet collectively. This is Chris and myself. And you understand now a bit more why we get to travel around the world and talking to groups like you guys. So I hope that was somewhat helpful. My English wasn't too fast, or I don't know, using too many fancy words. But any questions?
Are you brothers?
Si, fratello.